Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I'd like to do is pretty much describe a plan that a bunch of us had for a project. The project is to create a watch, uh, a really good quality watch. And so let's let me explain what we did. Uh, there's a saying that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, and of course, things always happen. But when creating a watch, you have to have some flexibility, otherwise you're going to run into trouble. So here was our plan. Started off, we wanted to get 100 Schwarz ETN MSE 211 movements. Uh, we only got 22. That was all they could spare. So that was the first thing. We had planned to start off with what's called a Brigade subscription, and what Brigade did, he asked for 25% of the watch's price used as a for a subscription, and then you'd pay the rest of it in increments once you got the watch or on the way to getting the watch. Well, we found out that we had to pay 50% for the watchmaker right off the bat, so we had to pay half down. Okay, so we figured, well, we'll pay the 50% up front, and then we'll have a lower back end. We could have like two other ones of 25% instead of one for 25%, and the other ones are higher than that. Um, Third, we wanted a Swiss American watch. It's working out pretty well. We have a Swiss watchmaker, Swiss band maker, and we're getting our movement from Switzerland. 5,000. We wanted to keep the price at 5,000. And so far, so good. We're able to do it, and I hope that doesn't change. Um, Now, we formed sort of under the aegis of Sandlight Productions, which is a company I've had for some time now. It started back in the 80s as a publishing company, and then it went to software development, and now for this. And so under the aegis of Sandlight Productions, we have a company that's called Montrez Foudet Sablé, which means sandfire. That was as close as I could get to Sandlight. So that's why that. So anyway, so this is the plan behind it. Okay, so we had to revise the plan, and the revised plan, because we only had 22 of the planned ones of the 100 watch movements, and we turned to chronode movements by the famed watchmaker Jean-François Mojan. He's one of the top watchmakers in the world. It's hand wound. That was what the Schwarz ETN is hand wound we wanted. Had a frequency of 21,600 semi oscillations per hour, or 3 hertz. That's the same thing that the Schwarz ETN had. Had dual barrels. That was the same. Had a 7-day power reserve. And with that, though, the barrels are in series rather than parallel. There's certain advantages with barrels in parallel, and that is that they have a smoother unwinding of the power source, which is the mainspring. On the other hand, with barrels in series, means that one barrel, when it's finished, the other one takes over, and so you have a long one. 7 days is a very nice long one. So, and it was similar in price to the MSE is for movements, Schwarz ETN. Okay, ASC that they have is automatic Schwarz ETN. Now, one of the things we had to set up a project for communication. So we got a logo. Put together a dragon, and an artist relative of mine helped out with that. So we got our dragon, and I thought, what else is going to sand fire? I thought, well, a dragon burns up sand. So that's where that came from. And so we made a general Facebook page, and it was set up to lay out the plans, explain everything that we were doing, what it was going to cost, and everything else. We did that. and we simply named it Montreuil's Feu de Sablé. That was easy. So we have a Facebook uh, group, I guess, with that name. And of course, it's derived, like I said, from Sandlight Productions. Now, one of the things that a lot of people say is, well, isn't that like Lyrique? And there are similarities, but there are differences, and I wanted to lay that out. Lyrique is totally Swiss. Everything is made in Switzerland, and the watch says Swiss made on it. It's 100% Swiss. Um, and the Montreuil's Feu de Sablé is Swiss American. We wanted to have a watch that was half American, half Swiss. Movements come from Switzerland. Everything else is done in the U.S. Um, the the Feu de Sablé wanted to work with existing movements, whereas Lyrique creates all brand new movements. So that gets real expensive, but it's worth it to us. On the other hand, it costs a lot more. Whereas what we want to do with an existing movement, doesn't cost as much. Not cheap, but it just doesn't cost as much. Okay, both groups use group projects. Both have a very high value for horology over popularity. Both are international. Lyrique is establishing it. We're almost got it. It's called Lyrique Society Cooperative in Geneva, Switzerland. And whereas Montreuil's Feu de Sablé is U.S. based right now, because it's Swiss American, but again we're getting the movements from Switzerland. Both use internet communications. Both depend on cooperative interaction among its members. That, believe it or not, that can be tough sometimes, but it's not that bad. Now, one of the things that we also have is that here you have all these different people who are involved, but we have sort of a private communications with each project. Right now I'm involved in actually 3 different ones. One, we're finishing up, this is with Lyrique, we're finishing up this. It's just this one little part that they're slowly finishing, and then they ship everything. So this one has been an exception in that relationship. Our very first one, we thought that we were having a lot of trials and tribulations with the first Lyrique watch. Just turned out beautifully. Both of these watches came with different bands. Yeah, I just like some other bands, so I added a Ming bracelet to the second one, and then I have a gator strap for the first one. We don't have gator straps because sending them to the U.S. from Switzerland is a nightmare. But having them made in the U.S., we got lots of crocodiles, I guess, in Louisiana and Florida. So made here, they don't have to go through any kind of customs. Okay, so we have these private project chats, and the reason for it is that if you're all working on something together, you've been talking about it, so you have sort of a series of discussions, and you've covered a lot of things that have to be dealt with, decisions on, whether you want red or green, these kinds of decisions. And once that's done, you don't want to have to revisit it every time somebody just happens to drop by and says, well, why don't you do this or why don't you do that? You want to kill them. You don't want that. So we make them private, and we have special passwords and everything. And it, is able to focus and to get something done. So that's another thing that we found out that works well. Now, the final thing is sine qua non. In other words, what is sort of the core reason for doing this kind of thing? Watch companies, like most companies, have a production to retail price ratio, okay? I was involved in publishing for years. I was a member of the what's group called the Publishers Marketing Association. I was a board member, and so the one of the things we found out is that what you will spend on creating a book and what it's going to sell for in a store, you have to use a ratio that was generally accepted to be 10 to 1. You have to give a discount. You have to do all of these other things to sell a book. The same we found out is true with watches. Swiss watches, they said, starts about 6 to 1 ratio. So if you spend let's say $10,000 on a watch, well, let's say 1,000, then you sell it for 6,000. If you spend 10,000 to create a watch, then you're talking about 60,000. It gets up there. So that's why a lot of us can't afford these watches. I can't afford a $60,000 watch. And on the other hand, if I worked with a bunch of other guys, we all get together, we pool our resources, we go to a top-notch watchmaker, either with an existing one or an existing movement, or have them make it for ourselves, we can afford the very best, and that's why we do it. There's another part to it, too, that I'll call pure sociability. It's sort of fun. A bunch of guys doing something that a lot of times their spouse will think it's nuts. What do you guys think you're doing? But it's fun. It's just the pure sociability of sort of hanging out with a bunch of guys who are interested in the same thing you're interested in. And, and as long as we don't act like jerks, we're okay. So anyway, that is pretty much it. And we've launched it. And like I said, our plan was one thing and it became something else. If you're interested in this, there are several different Facebook pages. Lyrique has a website, but we don't have a lot of stuff on there. Most of our information you can find if you go to the Facebook pages. The Lyrique has one, and Montrez Foudet Sablé has one. Anyway, be very interested to hear what you think. If you want to join one of them, or you want to start one on your own, you can do it. I think it's a lot of fun. Of course, I'm crazy, so it doesn't count. Anyway, let me know what you think. It's an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Until next time, this is Bill Standard for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.